Welcome to the HFY Tales channel. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the story. Enjoy and take care.
In the not-so-distant future, Earth lay in ruin, a battleground stained by the remnants of war. The sky was often a shroud of gray, thick with clouds that bore witness to the ancient conflict between humans and alien civilizations. Human settlements were sparse, and most had retreated underground, hiding from the pervasive threat that had invaded their world. In a secluded area, hidden from the prying eyes of drone surveillance, stood a secret shelter known only to a select few. This fortified underground facility, built during the height of the war, promised safety and survival amidst chaos. Its walls were lined with metal reinforced against blasts, and the air inside was thick with the scent of aged technology and preserved supplies. Ethan, a battle-hardened survivor in his late 30s, had once belonged to a team of elite combatants, but now his life was marked by solitude and silence, with memories of lost battles lingering like ghosts. He had chosen this secret shelter as his refuge, a stark reminder of better times, where walls weren't just for protection, but also for the walls of his own heart, guarded, impenetrable. As he returned after a weary day of scouting, Ethan felt an unsettling presence. The shelter's usual muffled sounds were eerily absent, replaced by a thick tension in the air. He set his supplies down, scanning the dimly lit area, his instincts honed from years of survival kicking in. Something was different. In the shelter, hidden among the shadows, an alien girl named Lyra observed with wide eyes. She had survived in this secret haven for weeks, her luminescent skin blending with the faint light as she cautiously navigated her surroundings. Learning the intricacies of human technology and behavior had become her daily fuel, but living in constant fear of discovery took a heavy toll on her spirit. After witnessing the brutality of the war from afar, she had grown wary of humans, yet a profound curiosity lingered. Lyra had arrived on Earth through a series of unfortunate events, her homeworld devastated by the same war that ravaged this planet. In her mind, her existence here was both a marvel and a burden. She was different, both in body and spirit, with emotions that danced just beneath the surface, waiting for a moment to be released. As Ethan moved deeper into the shelter, the tension thickened. He felt it a sensation of being watched. Dismissing the thought as paranoia, he continued to inspect the area, unaware that a small pair of alien eyes were fixed on him, brimming with both fear and fascination. What would happen if he discovered her? Would he be like the others, hostile, a remnant of the war that had stolen her home? Or could he be different, perhaps even a bridge between two worlds? The uncertainty churned within her, a mix of adrenaline and the flickering hope for connection. The air was heavy as Ethan instinctively reached for a flashlight, illuminating the dim corners of the shelter. Shadows danced as he moved, revealing remnants of human life, the dusty shelves, the faint echoes of a once bustling refuge. But just when he felt the need to leave, something caught his eye. An alien artifact, small and delicate, glimmering faintly with a life of its own. It was unlike anything he had ever seen, a reminder that this place held more than just his solitude. It was a sanctum of secrets where something, or someone, could still survive. Lyra, seeing Ethan's fascination with the artifact, felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps he wasn't like the others. Perhaps she could reveal herself and bridge the chasm created by the war. But as her heart raced with excitement, so too did the fear of rejection and hostility tighten around her. Ethan froze, his heartbeat echoing in the silence. The air felt thick, charged with anticipation. Who or what had left this token behind? As his mind raced with possibilities, something rustled further back in the shadows, and Ethan's instincts kicked in. The hunter instincts that had kept him alive now urged him to confront whatever lurked in the dark. Ethan's heart raced as he tightened his grip on the flashlight, his instincts honed from years of conflict coming alive. The sound, soft but distinct, echoed through the shelter. It was neither an echo of wind nor a cavernous groan. It was a movement, deliberate yet shy. Drawing in a deep, steadying breath, he took a cautious step forward, navigating through the cluttered space with care. Shadows cast by the flickering beam of his flashlight danced ominously across the walls. The faint glimmer of the artifact faded into the background as his focus sharpened on the source of the noise. "Show yourself," he commanded, his voice steady, revealing an authority that demanded respect. The words felt foreign in his mouth, laden with a history he never wished to invoke. He was used to being the powerful one, not the prey. And yet here he was, staring into the unknown. From the shadows, Lyra hesitated, caught between the instinct to flee and the pull of curiosity. She could feel the weight of his gaze, a warmth that both terrified and intrigued her. Ethan's presence was magnetic, and despite her fear, something deep within her ached for connection. Summoning her courage, she stepped into the faint light. The moment was electric. The world fell silent as they regarded one another, two beings from worlds apart caught in an inexplicable moment. The contrast was striking. Ethan, hardened and rugged, with eyes that spoke of battles fought, and Lyra, ethereal, with luminescent skin that seemed to pulse softly like a heartbeat, her gentle features framed by cascading silver hair. Ethan blinked, caught off guard. You're not what I expected," he uttered, his voice a mix of awe and confusion. The sight of her stirred something long dormant within him, a spark of hope overshadowed by the shadows of his guarded heart. Lyra swallowed hard, her thoughts a tumultuous whirl. "And you're not what I expected either," she replied, her voice soft yet resonant. Human language was foreign, but the words felt right, even if their meanings were steeped in uncertainties. This was the first time she had ever spoken to a human, and the thrill of it sent shivers along her skin. I thought all aliens were hostile," Ethan stammered, struggling to suppress a primal instinct that had taught him to categorize beings as either threats or allies. Her gaze held his, filled with a haunting mix of fear and fascination. "I didn't mean to intrude. I was just trying to survive," she whispered, the weight of her history apparent in her tone. "I watched you. I didn't want to be seen. I thought you would kill you." Ethan finished for her, a sense of understanding dawning. The mutual apprehension hung between them like an unspoken acknowledgement of the world around them. "Yes," she confessed, eyes wide and shimmering. "But I also hoped that you were different." Ethan's heart softened. He realized she needed him, and the thought both scared and invigorated him. In that moment, a fragile thread of connection began to weave itself between them, binding two lives shattered by the same war. As they stood across from each other, the air crackled with a sense of possibility. Ethan took a tentative step closer, drawn to her vulnerability. "What's your name?" he asked, his tone gentler now. "Lyra," she replied, the sound of her name slipping off her tongue like music meant only for him. "What's yours?" "Ethan," he responded, a slight smile breaking through his otherwise stoic demeanor. "I don't know how long you've been here, but this place, it isn't safe anymore. There are humans who want to destroy those like you." Her heart sank. She had heard stories of the hatred humans harbored towards her kind, stories that had molded her reality. Despite the fear that permeated these walls, there lingered the possibility of understanding, even tenderness. "I don't want to cause trouble," she assured him earnestly. "I just wanted a place to hide, a place to breathe." Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of her truth settle on both of them. "I understand. You can stay. Just please, don't scare me like that again." The last part of his statement came with a teasing smirk, lightening the heaviness in the room. Lyra's breath caught in her throat. "I will do my best." An awkward silence enveloped them, filled with a nervous energy that hummed between their skin. Instantly, they both became aware of the tangible space that lingered just beyond their physical presence. The distance felt impossibly vast, yet strangely intimate, a precipice from which neither wanted to leap, yet both yearned to explore. Ethan tried to dismiss the rising warmth that spread through him as he regarded the alien girl before him. There was something profoundly beautiful about her, her innocence layered with experience, her hesitant spirit igniting his own longing for connection. With the world outside threatening unhappiness, perhaps this unexpected bond was the respite they both sought. In time, the shelter's walls would no longer be merely protective barriers, but a sanctuary for their shared hope. one born from curiosity, fear, and intrigue. The silence that enveloped the shelter felt thick and heavy, filled with unspoken words and veiled emotions. Ethan and Lyra stood just a few feet apart, each acutely aware of the other's presence, trying to navigate the complex web of feelings that had begun to unravel between them. As Ethan shifted, he broke the charged silence. "So what are you?" he asked, his curiosity piqued, voice tinged with hesitation. "You said you're hiding, but why here? How did you end up on Earth?" "I came from a planet far away," Lyra began, her luminescent skin flickering softly with hues of blue and silver in the dim light as she spoke. "My home was beautiful and peaceful until the war spread to us. The humans, they didn't just want to conquer. They wanted to eliminate. I fled and ended up here, in this place." Ethan's heart clenched at her words. The pain in her voice resonated with his own. "I'm sorry," he said quietly, his mind racing to find words that might comfort her. "You shouldn't have had to suffer." Lyra offered him a small smile, gratitude washing over her features. "Thank you, Ethan. I thought I would find nothing but fear here. But I found you." In that moment, Lyra stepped a little closer, her cautious nature battling against the curiosity and longing that blossomed within her. Ethan reflexively stiffened, a mix of vulnerability and protectiveness flooding through him. "You really shouldn't be in here. It's dangerous. If anyone finds out, it wouldn't end well for you." "I know," she whispered, looking down for a brief moment as uncertainty washed over her. "But I'm tired of hiding. I want to be seen." Drawing in a slow breath, Ethan stepped forward, allowing the distance to close. The intimacy of this shared space began to feel electric, sending butterflies fluttering through both their stomachs. He understood her yearning to exist beyond mere shadows and fears. Just then, as if the moment demanded an unplanned reckoning, a sudden noise echoed from above. The grinding of metal on metal, the echo of footsteps approaching the entrance of the shelter. Panic washed over Ethan, stark and cold. "Hide," he urged, his voice low and urgent. He moved towards the far wall, where shadows grew thicker, gesturing for her to follow. With instincts honed by survival, Lyra slipped behind some old equipment, her breath quickening as she did so. Ethan glided effortlessly to her side, pressing himself against the cool metal, their bodies now inches apart, hearts racing in synchrony. They held their breath, the silence deafening as the footsteps drew closer, then halted just outside the shelter. Ethan's mind raced. Every muscle in his body was coiled tight, ready for action. "What do we do?" Lyra whispered, her voice barely audible, laced with fear. "Just stay quiet," he replied, his eyes fixed on the entrance, met with the flickering light of the exterior slowly seeping through the cracks. Adrenaline coursed through him, awakening instincts he thought were long buried. Lyra felt the warmth radiating from Ethan's body beside her, a soothing presence amid the chaos. It steadied her, helping to quell the rising anxiety. In that small confined space, vulnerability gave way to an unexpected intimacy. She could feel his breath, fast yet measured, and the weight of his gaze, protective and fierce. "Ethan," she breathed, inching closer without realizing it, compelled by an instinctual understanding that pulsed between them. His gaze flickered toward her, and in that instant, their eyes met once again, a silent acknowledgement passing between them, an understanding that they were in this together. As the tension mounted, they were no longer simply a human and an alien. They were two souls entwined by circumstance and choice. With a strained focus, Ethan felt the need to protect what lay in the shadows with him. His heart swelled with something remarkably different from fear, something akin to tenderness and acceptance. "I will protect you, Lyra," he vowed softly, his voice steady. The footsteps began to fade, and once again the silence returned. Only this time it felt charged with revelation. Ethan and Lyra separated slightly, breathing heavily as if emerging from an altogether different realm. What they had just experienced shifted the very foundation of their connection. Cautious trust had evolved into something far more profound, a silent promise cocooning them in the throes of shared survival. "I'm sorry for scaring you," Lyra murmured, her voice filled with sincerity. "I didn't mean to intrude." Ethan shook his head, brushing off the apology. "You didn't scare me. I was just caught off guard. I don't want to lose this connection." She gazed at him with wide, luminous eyes, a flicker of hope igniting within her. "This connection?" "Yeah," he replied, stepping back slightly, but lowering his voice to keep it intimate. "We came from opposite sides, but here we are, two survivors. Maybe it's time we understand each other, beyond fear. I want to know you, Lyra." A small smile graced her lips, and for a moment, the weight of the world outside faded away. The intensity of the earlier situation dissolved into a gentle warmth as they stood together, two beings learning to trust amidst the remnants of a conflict neither chose. In that moment, they took the first shaky step away from mere survival toward something profound, a tentative exploration of unity and the path that might lead them to one another. As the shadows cast by the dim light shifted, so too did the fragile boundary between fear and longing, inviting them both to step further into the uncertain, uncharted territory of their burgeoning relationship. Days turned into weeks as Ethan and Lyra forged an unexpected bond within the confines of the shelter. The outside world continued to be a realm of chaos and uncertainty, but inside, they created a sanctuary, an oasis of understanding and companionship. Ethan took on the role of protector and mentor, guiding Lyra through the intricacies of surviving in a human world. He taught her the basics of human technology, how to navigate the shelter's supplies effectively, and even how to stay alert in this unpredictable environment. In turn, Lyra shared insights from her own culture. The depth of her alien heritage fascinated Ethan. She spoke of the vibrant flora and fauna of her home planet, of the gentle lilt of their language, and of the artistic expressions that flourished before the war tore it apart. She revealed how her people bonded through song and dance, a stark contrast to the stark realities of war. As they shared stories, they began to learn from one another, transforming unfamiliarities into a mosaic of memories they both cherished. The vulnerability they had discovered in their first encounter deepened, and this blossoming trust unveiled layers of emotional connection that neither had anticipated. One afternoon, while seated on old crates salvaged from human technology, Ethan recalled a childhood story of his own, a memory from a happier time before war tainted his days. "My father had a garden," he began, a distant look in his eyes. He believed that even in a world consumed by conflict, there was still beauty that could thrive in the most desolate places. Lyra listened intently, captivated by the way Ethan's expression shifted at the mention of his father. "What sort of flowers did he grow?" she asked, her voice filled with curiosity. "Sunflowers," Ethan replied, a hint of warmth in his tone. He said they would always turn to face the sun, no matter how dark the world around them became. "It's a lesson I've come to admire. Sometimes, we need to seek out the light, even when it feels impossible." Inspired by his words, Lyra's eyes brightened. "In my culture, we have a similar belief," she said. "Our flowers are bioluminescent, glowing softly in the night. They remind us that even in darkness, there is life." Ethan felt a stirring in his heart at her description. It struck him how wonderfully they mirrored each other's experiences, drawing strength from nature in their own ways. "Can you show me?" he asked, his excitement palpable. "Your flowers, how they glow." A teasing smile danced on Lyra's lips. "Perhaps one day, if we can escape this place, I could take you back with me." The thought sent a thrill coursing through him. It was a promise wrapped in hope and dreams, a reflection of the burgeoning connection between them that transcended fear. With newfound excitement, Ethan leaned closer. "I'd love that." Their closeness deepened, and comfortable silences settled between them, inviting shared glances laden with unspoken emotions. Yet there were still moments when remnants of war would seep through the cracks of their emerging bond, a fleeting shadow in their otherwise brightening world. One evening, while they shared a simple meal, a distant sound of gunfire echoed through the ground above them. Tension rippled through the atmosphere as Ethan's training kicked in like a well-rehearsed instinct. He instinctively reached for Lyra's hand, squeezing it gently. Stay close, he whispered, a firm resolve in his tone. The usual warmth between them shifted into an urgent energy, a reminder of the dangers that lurked just outside their temporary sanctuary. Lyra's heart raced, not just in fear, but in understanding. She sensed Ethan's protective nature, his need for her safety overriding everything else. "I'm not afraid," she said, drawing strength from his presence. "Not with you here." The intimacy of their connection deepened as they weathered the storm of uncertainty together. During those tense moments, she learned the power of touch, the way Ethan's hand enfolded hers, grounding her in the chaos. It was a promise, a reminder that they were not alone. Yet, as they faced the world outside together, the shifting dynamics within their relationship began to flourish. Each soft brush of fingers, each lingering gaze, fueled an undeniable spark, igniting desire that laid beneath the surface. One night, after an especially charged day spent in shared stories and laughter, Ethan broke the comfortable silence that hung between them as they settled in for sleep. The shelter was dim, shadows dancing softly along the walls as he turned to face her. "Lyra," he began, his voice low and earnest. "What do you want from this? From us?" Her heart raced at the question, caught off guard. "I want connection, understanding, something beautiful, Ethan, especially in a world filled with fear." His gaze softened, understanding washing over his features. "Then let's build that together, Lyra. No more hiding." Under the soft glow of a flickering light, they ventured into the vulnerability of truth and connection. Ethan felt drawn to her, a magnetic pull that urged him to bridge the distance. Their relationship was no longer solely formed from need. It had become something exponentially more profound, a shared journey meant for understanding. With bated breath, he inched closer, reading her expressions. She looked at him with trust intermingled with desire, and in that silent invitation, they both leaned forward. Their foreheads touched softly, and in the electric moment that followed, time seemed to still, a heartbeat shared between two worlds. Breath hot against each other's skin, they held space for one another, aware that they were characters in a different story, moving beyond the narrative of fear. They discovered the continuity of touch as their lips finally met. Tentative at first, the kiss morphed into something deeper, an exploration that seemed long overdue. As they surrendered to the intimacy, they connected on a level that transcended mere words. In each caress, they discovered an abundance of emotion, the mingling of experiences and hopes that had drawn them closer. In that moment, within the walls of their secret shelter, they forged a connection that thrived amid the chaos of their realities, a shelter not just from the outside world, but from everything that had kept them separate before. Bound together, they were no longer just a human and an alien. They were united in a shared desire for hope, understanding, and love. The days following their shared kiss felt like a dream for Ethan and Lyra. The connection they had forged blossomed under the protective canopy of the shelter. Each moment together felt sacred. They were no longer just two survivors hiding from the world outside, but partners embarking on an unexpected journey. As their bond deepened, Ethan remained attentive to Lyra's needs, her cultural differences becoming an avenue for exploration. Their discussions shifted from survival strategy to more intimate topics, often delving into questions of identity and belonging. One evening, Lyra's expression turned serious. "Ethan," she began hesitantly, "there's something I've been wanting to talk to you about, something that is significant in my culture." His heart quickened, sensing the gravity in her tone. "What is it?" he asked, drawing closer, their knees almost touching on the makeshift seating. "In my world, when two beings connect on a level deeper than companionship, we participate in a ritual, a mating ritual. It's a way to solidify our bond and ensure harmony between our spirits." Ethan could feel his pulse quicken, curiosity tinged with apprehension. "A mating ritual? What does that entail?" Lyra's face glowed softly as she began to explain, her words flowing freely as she painted vibrant pictures of her home world. "It's both physical and spiritual. Partners share their energy through touch, merging their essences in a dance that creates connection not just between our bodies, but our souls. Intrigued yet hesitant, Ethan leaned in closer. And how does one prepare for this? Ritual. Her eyes sparkled with excitement. Every culture has its way. For my people, it begins with a dance, a movement that reflects the rhythms of our lives. It's intimate, ceremonial, and signifies acceptance and unity. What happens after? He asked, captivated by her description. The physical aspect is beautiful, but it's also about trust. We create a safe space for one another, sharing what lies within us. Lyra explained, her voice laced with a mixture of longing and vulnerability. Ethan's brow furrowed in thought. He had never considered what such a union could mean beyond mere physical connection. Are you saying you want that? Lyra met his gaze, and in her luminous eyes, he could see the conflict, the yearning that mirrored his own. Yes, she confessed softly. But I don't want to rush. This is new for both of us. I want it to be meaningful. A wave of warmth flooded through him at her honesty. I want that too, he admitted, his grip on her hand tightening. To connect on every level, body and soul. But I want to ensure that you feel safe. Her heart fluttered at his words, each one resonating with the truth of their journey together. Then let's prepare. Together. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the shelter in hues of orange and purple, they set the scene for their first shared ritual. Lyra collected the remnants of soft fabrics, weaving them together like the petals of flowers, creating a makeshift altar in the dim light of the shelter. Ethan gathered flickering candle-like devices, their soft glow enhancing the intimate atmosphere. This is beautiful, Ethan marveled, his eyes wide with admiration as he surveyed their creation. It feels like a ceremony. Lyra smiled, her heart swelling with appreciation for Ethan's willingness to embrace her customs. As she moved gracefully around the space, Ethan couldn't help but be captivated by her fluidity. There was an ethereal quality in the way she carried herself, an undeniable enchantment. Trust is essential, she said, her voice barely above a whisper as she returned to his side. Let us take this step together. The world outside may be filled with chaos, but in here, we can create our own harmony. Taking a deep breath, they stepped closer, moving into position. The warm glow illuminated their faces, the atmosphere charged with anticipation. Lyra began to sway gently, her movements fluid and hypnotic. Ethan watched, entranced by her grace. As she danced, she channeled energy, every motion a bridge connecting their spirits. With each soft sway, he felt her inviting him to join her, to surrender to the rhythm they were about to create together. He took her hand, mirroring her movements, and together they created a fusion of human and alien grace. He felt a warmth expanding in his chest as their bodies moved in harmonious synchrony, deepening the intimacy they had built over time. Ethan lost himself in the moment, his heart swelling as he followed her lead. With each twirl and spin, they shed the burdens of their pasts, reminders of war melting away as they celebrated this unique bond. When the dance reached its crescendo, Lyra encircled her arms around Ethan's neck. They could feel the heat radiating between them, the electric energy inviting them to take the leap into something more profound. Are you ready, Ethan? She asked softly, her breath warm against his cheek. More than anything, he breathed, the weight of her trust igniting a fierce determination within him. With that shared agreement, they met in a kiss that felt like a unison of destinies, a blend of their essences merging in a symphony of emotions. As they fell into each other, their breaths intertwined, Lyra guided Ethan, leading him deeper into their blossoming connection. The world outside faded entirely, the past forgotten as they explored the vast expanse of intimacy, losing themselves in one another. In that sacred space, they celebrated the beauty of vulnerability and trust, forging a bond that transcended the chaos around them. They were no longer merely a human and an alien. They were entities woven into the same tapestry, intertwined by choice and love. The night enveloped them in a cocoon of warmth and intimacy, where past fears and lingering doubts were momentarily silenced beneath the glow of their merging souls. Time lost all meaning, and in the tender exploration of each other's bodies and spirits, Ethan and Lyra found solace in the heart of their shared journey. When the first light of dawn crept into the shelter, casting soft shadows across their entwined bodies, Ethan stirred gradually, a sense of contentment enveloping him. He glanced sideways to see Lyra, still sleeping, her features serene and peaceful. The luminescent hues of her skin now seemed like a gentle, waking embrace of light. In that moment, Ethan felt a tide of fierce protectiveness rise within him, a promise that he would keep her safe from the world outside. It was a vow birthed not just from the intensity of their bond, but from the realization of the connection they had forged from their shared pain and growth. As Lyra began to stir, her eyes fluttering open, she offered him a smile that warmed his heart. "Good morning," she whispered, her voice still laced with sleep. "Good morning," he replied softly, reaching out to brush a stray strand of hair from her face. "Last night was incredible." A soft blush tinted her cheeks, the memories flooding back as she recalled the intimacy they had shared. "It was more than I ever imagined," she admitted, her gaze steady and open. "I felt like I was truly alive, Ethan." He drew her into his arms, surrounding her with an embrace that felt safe and secure. "You were we were," he murmured, swallowing the emotions bubbling just beneath the surface. "I want you to know that you mean more to me than I can express." Tears glimmered in her eyes, acknowledging the depth of his words. "You've changed me, Ethan. I was so afraid of everything. But now, with you, I see a different world, a world where we can coexist in peace." As they shared a tender kiss, the reality of their connection settled within them, a bond that defied the constraints of war and hatred. They were two souls navigating a complex universe, united not only in their love, but in their aspiration for a brighter future. The days that followed their intimate union saw them growing closer, building routines that allowed them to embrace both their identities. They often shared stories of their worlds, reveling in the uniqueness of each other's experiences while learning to appreciate the beauty in their differences. Yet, even as they flourished within the confines of the shelter, the threat of the outside remained ever present. Ethan knew they could not stay hidden forever. The world above would not cease to exist just because they wished for peace. One afternoon, while scanning the remnants of their supplies, Ethan turned to Lyra. "We need to venture outside, gather supplies, and find a way to secure your safety. We can't remain isolated." Her expression shifted, a mix of determination and worry touching her features. "But what if someone sees me? What if they—" "Lyra, we'll deal with that together. I won't let anything happen to you. The world may be dangerous, but you've shown me that there's history and beauty worth fighting for," he answered, confidence lining his voice. After uplifting her spirits and calming her nerves, they prepared to face the outside world together. As they stepped beyond the threshold of the shelter, Ethan felt the weight of responsibility settle onto his shoulders. The sun hung low on the horizon, casting golden rays that illuminated their path. Every sound in the outside world felt exaggerated. The rustle of leaves, the distant hum of machinery, even the sound of their own footsteps against the rugged terrain. Lyra stayed close by, her heart pounding both with apprehension and excitement. As they navigated the remnants of human civilization, Ethan led the way with Lyra watching closely, aware of the danger they faced. An encounter could be imminent, and he was more aware than ever of the risk involved with their union. But their mission was paramount, filled with purpose. Searching through an abandoned store, Ethan gathered supplies while keeping a watchful eye. Lyra, ever curious, explored the surroundings, surprisingly finding beauty in the decay amidst the remnants of a world once teeming with life. Then, suddenly, a shout echoed in the distance. Human voices approaching. Panic surged through Ethan's veins as he turned toward Lyra. "Hide," he urged, adrenaline pushing them into a corner. Without hesitation, Lyra slipped behind a stack of debris, her heart racing. Ethan moved closer, shielding her with his body, ready to protect the one person who now meant everything to him. The voices drew closer, and just as they rounded the corner, Ethan felt a wave of fear wash over him. Had they been discovered? Would they be met with hostility? But then, An unexpected sound carried through the air, a laughter, a voice he recognized. Ethan. The figure stepped into view, and Ethan's heart leaped at the sight of a familiar face, a former comrade. What the hell are you doing out here? Relief washed over Ethan as he recognized Jason, a friend he thought had been lost to the chaos. What are you doing? You shouldn't be here, he insisted, glancing nervously at Lyra, still hidden. Jason shrugged, a grin spreading across his face. I'm not dead yet. I've been scouting, looking for survivors, trying to pull our people back together. That gleam of hope ignited something within Ethan. There's something you need to know, he said, determination etched into his features. This is Lyra. She's not the enemy. She's like family. The realization dawned on Jason's face, his smile faltering but curiosity piquing. You're telling me you've made friends with an alien? Ethan stepped closer to Lyra, inviting her to join them, his heart pounding as he watched her emerge cautiously from behind the debris. Yes, and she's a person just like us. More than just a thing to fear. The unexpected introduction hung in the air as Jason regarded Lyra with a mix of surprise and intrigue. You're really here, he remarked, searching her luminous features. I thought they were gone, or worse. It's a long story, Ethan interrupted, urgency cutting through the air. But we need to figure out how to protect her. Together. What transpired next wove a new chapter into their lives, a bizarre yet hopeful alliance built on understanding. Together, they strategized, and Jason introduced them to a few others who thought similarly, voices that resonated with the hope for a future where alliances could form. Through each harrowing moment, Ethan held Lyra close, enveloped in shared warmth. They spoke of peace, nurtured ties with those who sought to create unity, and in doing so, began to shift the tide of animosity that had defined their world. Each day brought challenges, their journey filled with uncertainty, yet brimming with newfound purpose. They faced the shadows of the past, determined to carve a more inclusive path forward, and as they did, they discovered deeper layers of love for one another hidden beneath society's scars. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Ethan and Lyra stood side by side, gazing at the sky filled with stars. Look how beautiful they are, she said, her voice filled with awe. Just like our connection, it shines even in the darkest of moments. Ethan pulled her close, feeling a sense of peace wash over him. We'll keep fighting for this, Lyra, for us, for our worlds. Together, she affirmed, intertwining her fingers with his. We are stronger united. As the stars twinkled brightly overhead, they stood as a testament to resilience and love, a reminder that across galaxies and cultures, hope could bloom even amid devastation. They were not just a human and an alien. They were a powerful force of change, ushering in a new era of understanding and unity. And together, they stepped boldly into whatever lay ahead, ready to face the world not as adversaries, but as allies. Two souls intertwined on a journey of love, strength, and transformation.